Imagine a battalion of heavily armored warriors charging across a battlefield. They raise their weapons, swing with lethal force, and strike absolutely nothing. Their blades pass straight through the enemy like smoke. When we picture ancient Vedic warfare, we usually imagine massive displays of physical strength, unbreakable chariots, and weapons leveling entire landscapes. The most effective weapon in this ancient arsenal targets the mind directly. Ravana, the 10-headed sovereign of Lanka, recognized that physical conquest is temporary. To achieve total control, a strategist must manipulate the enemy's perception of what is real. To execute this, he enlisted Vidyut Jivha, a commander who didn't forge swords or train infantry. He was a master of spectral arts, a strategist who specialized in the architecture of deception. If you strip away a soldier's ability to trust their eyes, they will eventually defeat themselves. We see this strategy in action at Alakapuri. This was the wealthy capital city of Kubera, guarded by elite soldiers preparing for a traditional, brutal siege. Instead of sending flesh and blood troops, Vidyut deployed a phantom army, lines of dark, spectral cavalry charging toward the gates. These horses struck the ground without kicking up a single grain of dirt. The infantry soldiers screamed soundless war cries. The defenders were paralyzed by the unnatural silence of the assault. The Yaksha guards swung consecrated celestial weapons, only to hit thin air. You cannot block an enemy that exists in the space between being and non-being. By inserting a false threat into the environment, Vidyut bypassed every wall and shield in the city. The defenders' own terror broke their ranks, forcing them to fight an enemy that wasn't there. Offensive terror is only half the equation. The most effective illusions don't look like monsters. They look entirely normal. When defending their own territory, the mastermind Vidyut constructed a flawless, simulated replica of Lanka's magnificent golden capital. Every detail was meticulously engineered. Phantom merchants traded whispered gossip. Fake guards patrolled the walls, their spectral weapons catching imaginary sunlight. Ravana understood that if an enemy army sends scouts, those scouts will report back complete fictions. The opposing generals are left making life-or-death decisions based on data that doesn't exist. A simulated authenticity provides a perfect defense. An invading force cannot conquer a stronghold if they march their troops into a mirage while the real city sits hidden. The ultimate mastery of spectral arts involves the subtraction of reality. Instead of adding to the battlefield, Vidyut removes the pieces the enemy relies on most. Facing the impenetrable stone fortress of Kishkinda, he didn't order a traditional artillery bombardment. He simply dissolved the massive walls. Thousands of Vanara warriors, expecting a prolonged siege behind massive granite defenses, suddenly found themselves standing in the open air. The protection they had relied on for generations simply evaporated. This tactic removes the army's physical advantage and their psychological anchor simultaneously. They are left completely unmoored. When the environment can be deleted from perception, the enemy loses the ability to resist. They are defeated by the collapse of the ground they stand on. Vidyut victories rely on a single vulnerability. Our eyes don't actually see the world. They gather raw data that the mind then has to interpret. This represents the Vedic concept of Maya, the grand illusion. It shows how solid objects are filtered through our nervous system and reconstructed subjectively in the brain. We navigate this same landscape today. Cognitive biases, digital echo chambers, and manipulated media distort perception, creating a tangled web of conflicting signals. In his book Katha, Kanav Sachdev frames these mythological figures as specific states of consciousness. Ravana and Vidyut represent internal forces we must learn to recognize within ourselves. So I'm curious, if you possessed the power of Vidyut, what is the first illusion you would cast? Let me know down in the comments. To explore these psychological architectures further, check out Katha, 108 Stories from the Vedas and Puranas. These stories aim to disrupt sleep and awaken knowing. You can find it in print, digital or audio formats on Amazon, Google Play, and Spotify. The link is in the description.